Hey, welkom back to Karen's Papercraft. Thank you very much for watching. Wat leuk dat je weer kijkt. Dankjewel. Today is part 2 in my series on how to gift wrap a bottle of Tombow glue, and this is it, a cute little box. In the video I'll be showing you not only how to make the box but also how to make this little label, and in particular to make the label shorter than it really is. So keep watching. I'll start by showing you all the materials that I've used. For the tag I've used the designer tags, the butterfly and this small one. I'm going to show you how you can make this a smaller even, like on the box. You need a scrap of basic white and a scrap of sweet sorbet. My cardstock is crushed curry, and I'll show you my prototype later on. The designer series paper that I've used is the Rings of Love. This was a 12 by 12 sheet and I've already cut off one strip, and I'll show you that in more detail later. Right, so let me put my things over here and I'll start by showing you how you can make the box. You need a piece of cardstock which is 7.5 by 5 3/4. I'll start the 5 3/4 first. 5 3/4, Karen. Because you could get 2 from one sheet. Do you see? And then you go to 7.5 is what I said. Sorry. So 7.5. Then you're going to do some scoring. So I'll put away my cutting blade. And with the long side top you're going to score at 1/2 inch, so I'll do that on this side because that's easier. You could do it here. Well, I'll show you here, maybe that makes more sense to you. So 1/2 inch, and then you score at 1 5/8. You score at 5 7/8, so you have to go all the way nearly to the 6, and you score at 7, which means that here again you have a 1/2 inch score line. Then you turn your paper, and with the short side top you score at 1 1/8 inch, at 2 5/8, at 3 3/4, and 5 1/4. Then you can fold all these score lines. So I thought I'd wait until my clock had finished. Then at the bottom you can cut up. Oh, by the way, where you have this glue flap, that's your bottom. And this looks different, doesn't it? Yep. Something wrong in my measurements. Oh well, I'll just have a bigger glue flap because the rest of the score line is okay. Don't know what happened here. I have to look it up in my notes. So you cut off all these score lines as far as the second score line. Then then you can wedge the glue flap, and this one you cut away entirely. And you do the same thing with that one. These two, four, these two here and these two here, so 4 in all, you shorten and wedge. So I'm cutting off about, I'll use my trimmer for that. It makes for a neater cut. So make sure you fold your flap in, excuse me, and then I'm putting my score line on the 1/2 inch mark there, and then I can cut off these. Same thing here, put your score mark on the 1/2 inch line and cut those off. Then they'll be about halfway when you fold your box closed, you see. Now all I have to do is wedge these. I'm still wondering about why my glue flap was bigger. I'll change that in my notes and on my blog post as well, if necessary. It may be that I just had a wrong look before I started cutting. But these things happen. So here you have the box, and this is the prototype, and you can see here where you stick down all your panels of designer series paper. So 4 long ones, and then of course on the top and the bottom flap of your box. Right, I'll show you how to do that. As I was saying before, this was a 12 by 12 piece, and I started by cutting off 4 7/8. So this is 4 7/8 high, and this of course could still be used for something else. And when you have this 12 inch by 4 7/8, obviously this is shorter because I've used it for this box, then you're going to cut a couple of strips, and you start off by cutting 2 strips of 1 1/4, which are already 4 7/8 because that is the length that I cut. So these you put together, and then you cut 2 strips of 7/8 by 4 7/8. That's the one, and again 7/8. Again, this could be used on a card. Now the first 2 that you've cut, the one which were 1 1/4 wide, from the top you cut 7/8 of an inch off. So you put it on the 7/8 mark and you cut it off, and you keep these 2 because they go onto the smaller flaps. And these ones have to be 4 inches, so you cut them down to 4 inches, put them on your, you can cut them one by one, but I just prefer to do them in one go. So 4 inches. These are scraps. So now you have your panels. Now, when you put them on, make sure that your glue flap is on the right hand side, because this is the top and this is the bottom. You don't want your pattern to go upside down. Well, it won't matter, won't it? Because you can turn the box over. Clever. Never mind me. Okay, so I'm going to put these on. Now for the top of my box, I've taken the piece of designer series paper that I've cut off at the top, and I'm sticking it on so that you have this one. The size is still okay. I was wondering about that. Oh, I forgot to wedge these. They have to be cut in at an angle as well, otherwise you won't be able to fit them into your box. So these two as well. And then to close the box, all you need is one strip of tear and tape, and to close it, just fold in that flap. And then you close it like you would close an ordinary box, and I'll show you the Tombow can go inside. Now, you can of course leave your box like this. I liked to add a label, and I'm showing you how to make a label as well. I think it adds just that extra touch. I'll just get my Tombow out, I may need it. So my two scraps and the designer tags, and I want the butterfly and this one. I'll start by making two of the butterflies. Then I'll show you how to make the little tag and to make it shorter. First I'm going to cut it just once, full length. Then to make your label shorter, you slide it in like this. So put your label upside down, so with the cutting side towards the bottom, you slide in your label, and then one end goes under and one end goes over, and then you can measure how long you want it to be. I want about 1 1/4 inches, so that's 5 on my grid lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm putting the top towards the 5, and then the cutting edge at this middle line on the grid paper. Then you secure it with some tape again, and you cut again. And now you see that my label is shorter because I've cut off the bottom bit. A slight indentation may be visible. It will be visible on the back. On the front you can see it ever so slightly, but I'm going to put the butterflies on top anyway. So I'll just put my mini machine over there. Then my two butterflies can go onto the little label, and I think I'm going to use mini dimensionals because I do want them to pop. And the mini dimensionals may even be too big, so I'm using half ones. So I'm putting one in the middle, and then put this one on top, trying to get it on straight. Yes, that looks nice. There's already some dimension, you see, and then you can fold up the wings a bit. And I'm putting another half one. Oh, that's just the backing paper. You little devil, you. And then I'm going to put this on my label. There you are. That looks nice with a lot of dimension to it. Then you can even fold up the wings even more. And I'm using my bone folder to make sure my dimensions adhere well. Then the rope, well, rope, baker's twine, it's not a rope, is it? I'm using the, I think this is soft suede. I'd have to look it up, I don't know. I'll blend it in later, the name. Oh, and I'll show you a trick to make sure that these ends don't unravel. I'll get one which I haven't dealt with so far, why not the black one? This is where the end is, and well, they just keep falling loose. So what you do is, with your scissors, you just make 2 snips, and then you can fold it outward a bit, and then you can put the twine in between and fold it up, and then it is secure, you see? And when you want to use it again, you fold it down and you take out thread. You need about 20 inches of this, so I'm going to measure that. That's 10 and 20. See, I'm folding this one down and then putting the thread through and folding it up again, and it's secure. The first end, the first end has to be long enough for me to be able to tie a bow. You go around it once. No, don't pull. Go around it once and twice. And if these ends are equally long, roughly, yep, you put one end under from the top, and one from the bottom, and then you tie a double knot, oh, I just love baker's twine. I always struggle with it. That's it, a double knot. Then the bottom string, I'm just wetting this so it doesn't fray. I'm putting it through that little hole. From back to front, and then you can tie a bow. Just one knot first of all, and then a tiny bow. And if one end is just too long, you can shorten it. And that's another box finished. Alright, that's it for this week. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for kijken. There are more videos there, in particular part 1 on the series on how to wrap a bottle of Tombow glue. So see you next time. Bye!